Yeah, I think the last time I listened to Coming Out of Our Shells was, I mean, it was in 2023 for sure. And
I think the last time I listened to anything that was probably 1991. Coming out of
That's a great. That was
well,
a
I
great
found
cassette,
I
man.
had still had the cassette, and uh, there was tape over the tabs, so I wasn't entirely sure what was on the cassette. And so I popped it in, and oh, maybe it's even still in the deck.
That would be perfect. Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography. I'm Jason, and with me is Tim,
Hi.
Colquitt,
Classy.
and our boy Joe.
I'm hydrated with electrolytes.
Yeah, see, he's not
I'm
sticking to
hydrated
the
with
rules of the
lime-flavored
show
water.
here.
I'm hydrated with vitamin B, vitamin R.
I got that vitamin W. All right, so this is a new series we are doing called Album of the Decade, or as Tim has so lovingly dubbed it, The Meat Grinder. So the first decade we're doing is 1990s. The series is going to take some time to get through and for us to get to the end, so hit that like, subscribe button and see how it ends. How we're going to do this is we're going to go year by year from 1990 to 1999. And for each year, we'll do a short video on the musical landscape of the year as remembered by ourselves and what history has told us, discussing what was popular, infamous, or important for that year in music, both for pop culture and for ourselves personally. After that, we will rank our personal top 10 albums for the year. The top 3 albums for each person will then be selected to go into the meat grinder. Once we've gotten through each of the decade, the albums that went into the grinder will then be entered into a giant bracket where we will vote them out until we get to the album of the decade. So doing all the math, 3 albums per person, times 4 people, for 10 years, we are looking at a bracket of 120 albums. If 2 of us have the same album in our top 3, that album will automatically just move up a tier in the grinder.
That'll save us time.
Yes. It's a huge project, but it should be a blast. There will be a playlist link down below to follow along with us as we find out using science and math and lots of alcohol to determine what is hands down the most definitive, 100% official album of the 1990s.
This is going to be like a long-term relationship.
Jason,
Joe,
you were
when we signed up for this. We let him know this was going to be a big thing, and Joe said yes.
And you can't say that we're not thorough. If anything,
right.
we're thorough.
Jason, you were breaking up during that whole monologue. Can you repeat all of that?
Hit that like and subscribe button and watch the next video in the playlist, Joe, where I will say all this again.
Just hit the back button, refresh, just start over, and we'll be fine.
All right, so
Just write it down on paper and you're good.
this video will be the honorable mentions of 1990. So I was 10. I ain't got a lot to say here. I asked everybody, name some albums that were important to you for that year, and we did a little Googling, and that's how we came up with this list. So we're just going to shoot the shit. Somebody else talk, because I'm...
All right, I got this, man. I'm going to go quick. I'm just going to look down the list, pick my shit, and say some stuff about it. MC Hammer, Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him. I Like 'Em Soft and Wet. Yo, that song, for me in like 4th or 3rd grade, that changed my perspective on some shit. I wasn't sure what was happening, but as a heterosexual male, I knew something interesting was. Teenage Mutant, Damn Yankees. What is that douchebag's name?
Oh,
Ted Nugent.
Ted
Ted
Nugent.
Nugent goes AOL. Fuck that band. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie soundtrack. TURTLE power. TURTLE power. That was my shit as a child. I love that so much. It was my favorite record of all time. Until I heard real music.
Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there.
Technotronic, my man. I love him. Sorry, what were you saying, Jason? I interrupted.
You'll be happy to know one of the Biz videos uses the TURTLE power song at the end.
Happy days.
That's all I wanted to say. Go ahead.
Are you
And this one will use the Happy Days theme.
Dude, yeah, I mean, dude. All right, Sinead O'Connor. Dude, that song makes me cry. R.I.P. Prince. Digital Underground. I learned about doing things in a Burger King bathroom due to this song. That was great. Bell Biv DeVoe Poison. I still love that song. It reminds me of Skating Rink. Just fucking Skating Rink, you know? That Girl's Poison, man. That was the jam for that, man. Wilson Phillips is my secret love. I love them very much. I think those songs are so good. But I also love Bad John Cicada and stuff. So I've got a soft spot for Bad 80s Radio. And that's Bad 80s Radio, just in 1990. Madonna's Breathless. I could talk about the Dick Tracy movie for a while. Because, wow, lot of, what a commercial failure in every regard. Like, amazing that this album even exists. Because on the Block, Don't Give a Fuck. Paula Abdul, though, she's forever my girl. My first concert. I literally love this record. I debated putting it in my top 10 records just to give it some love. Like, it's a great pop record. It's so great. I don't know what's on Flesh and Blood by Poison, but I'm pretty sure I saw videos for whatever song was on it. Extreme 2, More Than Words, right? That's the band's, or is that Hole in My Heart? Which one is that? Hole in My Heart?
They did both, actually.
They did both. Great VH1 rock before VH1 rock was a thing, man. It's great stuff. John Bon Jovi, excuse me. You know, gotta be Young Guns, bruh. Gotta be Young Guns. Okay, I'm gonna stop because Silent City is great. Vanilla Ice. I remember rocking out in my friend Jonathan's kitchen on her socks, like sliding around to play that funky music White Boy before I knew that was a heavily sampled song.
Vanilla Ice heavily sampling people. No.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, this is before I knew that Under Pressure was a song too. So I mean, I was a youngster. I was 8. Warrant's Cherry Pie. I remember the video quite very well. I remember liking it, but I'm not sure why. Can't figure it out. Too Short. Learned about that way later. Don't have a personal memory of it, unfortunately, related to the year. Yeah, I guess CNC Music Factory, Gonna Make You Sweat, is for real the last record I definitely loved from this year. That was a good time. I got the single from Walmart, and it was a lot of fun. I got that in the Snow Informer single, I think, on the same day. I don't know where Snow is on this list. It should be up there. That song sucked.
Well, as the other youngin in the group, let me go ahead because I'm assuming everyone above my age has a little more information. I was 7 in 1990, so my memory, we're sprinkling in some youth and some past life or think about here. MC Hammer, obviously, a lot of fun going through the 90s with him. I don't remember this album specifically. I'm sure if I dug deep and looked for some songs, I'll know them now. But at the time, I remember hearing the name MC Hammer, but I couldn't have told you much here. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, obviously, great soundtrack. Sinead O'Connor, I did not listen to this in 1990. I've listened to it recently. I like this album. I think that's a good album. We all know I was just looking up fun facts about Digital Underground, and one of the quick facts is, who's the member with the big nose? That literally
Shock G.
Yeah. So always remember him, the Humpty Dance. Wilson Phillips, I had no idea until the movie, what is it? What's that movie? Bridesmaids? Came out?
I mean, yeah, there's been a lot of movies to share. Beautiful.
Madonna, I'm Breathless, I didn't realize was the soundtrack for Dick Tracy, but I remember when Dick Tracy came out, and it was supposed to be a big thing. One of my good friends, his mom, had us watch it, and it was supposed to be like the next big blockbuster thing happening, and it fell apart quickly. But I also had a weird printer game application thing where you could print in letters and dashes the silhouettes of the villains and stuff. I don't know why I had it.
There was so much merch for that movie that nobody cared about.
I printed 2 things, and I was like, okay, well. New Kids on the Block, Step by Step, that was my first cassette tape. I believe my grandmother gave it to me because she heard they were popular. So I did listen to that album back then. I tried to re-listen to it for this. Only got about 2 songs in. We went to Step by Step, and that's the extent of what we do there.
You went, oh, no.
Poison, obviously no Poison. I don't know any songs off that. Let's see, John Bon Jovi. I remember the movie Young Guns 2 very well. We didn't realize this was like the soundtrack once again. So I listened to a couple of songs off there, and I was like, whew, I remember the movie and the songs being way better than what I'm hearing here, but I digress. George Michael, I didn't know anything about George Michael at the time, besides my friend's mom loved George Michael. So there's your that. Vanilla Ice, obviously I knew about that then. We're listening to Vanilla Ice. Warrant, I remember the video for Cherry Pie. So I remember that pretty vividly. And then we pretty much go through to CNC Music Factory. I remember the one song. That's it. Well, that was kind of the landscape there. I was listening to a lot of country and southern rock. So
you telling me? Wait, how old were you, Cole? Quit in 1990?
I was a year older, so I was 8. But I don't know if I mentioned "Silent Lucidity" by Queensryche. That song really made me cry a lot as a little 8-year-old. For real, it was a good song.
So, Tim, would you please talk about coming out of our shells?
No, I remember that. I just didn't care for it.
Because these guys have not talked about it. They just kind of like, it goes from Warrant to CNC.
Well, yeah, I got to say, I'm a little blitzkrieged by this format. I didn't realize we were talking about every single album like that.
We're not.
So,
we're not. But I have memories of all of them, so I had to talk a lot.
Yeah, it was supposed to be more of a free-form type thing, but, whatever.
Yeah, so... Yeah, the Ninja Turtles were huge in 1990 to the point where they had an ice show and albums and all that good stuff. And being a prepubescent boy myself at the time, I of course still have the tape. It's around here somewhere. Yeah, I think the last time I listened to Coming Out of Our Shells was... it was in 2023, for sure. And
I think the last time I listened to anything that was probably 1991. Coming out.
That's a great.
Well,
I
found
cassette,
I still had the cassette, and there was tape over the tabs, so I wasn't entirely sure what was on the cassette. And so I popped it in, and maybe it's even still in the deck.
That would be perfect.
You had to watch it for the review purposes of this,
Oh,
I will add
I got a different tape in there, but
while he's looking, I will add that the best video on the internet of all time is from the Coming Out of Your Shells VHS video, and it is somebody that dubbed Throwdown onto the footage, and it's called Teenage Mutant Hardcore Turtles, and it is literally the best thing that's ever been created, and because of that, Coming Out of Their Shells is worth mentioning for sure.
All right. Sorry. Well, I'll leave a link in the description down below so they can watch that video, because you are correct. That is a great video.
And you know what? Go ahead and listen to the album, too. If you can find that on the YouTube. It's
yeah, I'm sure it's on YouTube.
You're going to have yourselves a fun little 80s party in 1990.
Just make sure you order Pizza Hut pizza to eat while you're watching it.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll be tubing, surfing, subterranean.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got 30 minutes.
Me personally, I only owned 2 cassettes of these albums here. That would be Coming Out of Our Shells and Vanilla Ice's To the Extreme. That was my shit back in the day. Love that album. Shout out Cowboy. He still loves that album to this day. Well, he loves a lot of these still. Poison, Warrant. This is really Cowboy's year. He should. But yeah, that Turtles soundtrack, the movie soundtrack, it holds up. The movie holds up. The soundtrack holds up. It's so good. Yeah, the rest of it, I remember MC Hammer. I remember a girl I was dating in 5th grade. She liked New Kids on the Block. That's about it for me though. The rest of it, yeah.
Yeah, I had an older cousin that was obsessed with New Kids on the Block, but that's the extent of my knowledge. Other than that, Weird Al made better songs parodying
I mean, 1990 is such a weird year in music because
You have all this, and then you see what we picked for our top 10.
Yeah.
And it's crazy it all came out in the same fucking year. What a year. Crazy.
I don't think it starts to get real interesting till 91, but...
Well, I think...
But the writing's on the wall here.
Yeah.
There's a reason 1991 happened, and, it's 1990 before.
That is true.
All right, Tim.
Sure. So, yeah, I was a young man of 48 in 1990. And I was buying a lot of cassettes. That was the preferred format. I'm pretty sure I got my first CD player like at the tail end of 89, though.
Oh, wow.
So I would have also been starting to buy CDs. So going through this list, I'll have stories regarding both. Like, for sure, I had Paula Abdul, Forever Your Girl. It was one of the fun... This was the year where I discovered if you got 12 tapes for a penny and then quit, they sent you 12 more for free to do it all over again for a penny.
Don't know how this was an industry.
It was a beautiful thing.
I don't know the statute of limitations on that, but we might know.
Well, it's past. It is past.
I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we did that in the in the 80s. We like 12 records for $1, or like 10 cents."
Yeah.
BMG and Columbia House, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The guilty parties of being awesome.
And so they both had that thing, so you could actually like quadruple what you were actually getting if you were,
not paying.
Oops. So yeah, the Paula Abdul Forever Your Girl I had on cassette. I never owned the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie soundtrack, but I do still have the movie on VHS.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure I saw it in the theaters too. I'm pretty sure I took my grandkids to go see that.
That Pizza Hut commercial is burned in my brain.
Yeah. Well, and I still have some of the old Pizza Hut VHSs too.
Oh yeah.
So, it was a fun year. 1990, I was at a crossroads where the beginning of the year I was getting most of my musical information from MTV and the local radio station. And so you can guess what I was enjoying because it was what was being played every hour on the hour. Sinead O'Connor was not one of the things I enjoyed. I can certainly look back now and recognize that it's a pretty important album. But at the time, it wasn't for me. I did own Please Hammer, Don't Hurt 'Em on CD.
Wow.
That did eventually become a Frisbee, though.
Yeah. As it does.
As it does. Yeah. I mean, the best thing about that album is the title. I really shouldn't talk about the New Kids on the Block. I had there was a girl in the neighborhood who was like obsessed with them, and so something just about that really grated me. And so I was being like, yeah, New Kids on the Block sucks. And you know what? Vanilla Ice falls into that category too. I remember somebody brought the cassette tape to school, and the inside the booklet, it was just pictures of his hair, and I thought that was just ridiculous. So, and then never even mind the liberal use of. Oh no, wait, they did change that bass line. Never mind.
Yeah, it's got a.
It's theirs goes. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Ours goes. Da-na-na-na-na-na.
Right.
Yeah,
you got. I forgot the tits. You're right.
That makes it different.
It does.
We've talked about coming out of their shells. That's if you can find it, definitely listen to it. Add it to your playlist. Tell your kids. Tell your grandkids. Tell your grandparents. It's a great album. Everybody should listen to it.
A lot of Naked Turtles at the live show because they came out of their shells. So
Yes, yes, yeah. It's a moving story about
Puberty. Really.
discovering oneself and applying that to the world.
A lot of
I mean,
metaphors.
everybody knows "Mama Said Knock You Out." Um, that came out. Black Crows came out. George Michael. I was a big George Michael fan in the late '80s, early '90s. It was inescapable. Great pop songs, great voice, funny stuff. But yeah, CNC Music Factory was all over the place. I still love the line, gonna make you sweat till you bleed. Is that dope enough? Indeed. But even the CNC Music Factory isn't as good as the Digital Underground. The Sex Packets is an album that could have made the top 10 list.
Yeah, it could have. It should have.
It could have made the Meat Grinder. It's a one of the first real examples of just total P-Funk worship in the samples in the hip-hop world. And obviously the P-Funk samples have gone on to be the second most sampled stuff, only behind James Brown. Another big album that year was AC/DC with The Razor's Edge. Thunderstruck is still played every hour on the hour somewhere, I'm pretty sure.
That's the one with Thunderstruck. Okay, gotcha.
That's the one with Thunderstruck. So I would have seen the video all the time. I want to say Money Talks is from that album as well. That one's a little better, I think. And then no one else has talked about the Wilson Phillips, but I owned that on CD because I was a dumb little kid. Say it again.
I love that those singles, at least from that record, for sure.
Well, yeah, it eventually became a Frisbee as well. But at the time, going into 1990, I had, I was very influenced by what was being played around me. And my taste kind of developed in 1990 to where by the end of it, I had been introduced to punk rock, thrash metal, and just an underground scene in general. So it's a pretty formative year for me, honestly, in my late 20s. So yeah, I had the Wilson Phillips on CD. I also had Queensryche's Empire on CD. It was actually given to me by the local rock radio station. Everybody remembers Silent Lucidity, but I would implore you to go back and listen to Jet City Woman. That's still a great song.
That's a good band to maybe review at some point, because I honestly only know that one song. That's it.
Well, so only knowing that one song is probably not the best band to review.
Fair enough, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always forget this was a band. Everybody's like, Queenstrike. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's all right.
Just go check out Jet City Woman. That's all you need. I also had the Belle Biv DeVoe Poison on CD. I'm not even really sure what happened to that, but that was a fun one.
That New Jack Swing, man. I love that stuff, dude.
Yeah, that was very popular at the time. And one of the things I think that is lacking in today's musical landscape that was very much present in 1990 is that, your choices were a little more limited in what you could hear. So the people playing you music, whether it be on the radio or MTV, were much more open to expanding their horizons to try to encapsulate everyone. Whereas today it's like, no, I only want to listen to, new metal from 1998 that was produced out of, 2 counties in Georgia while they were,
deathcore.
I don't know. I think the problem today is oversaturation. I think they have too many.
That plays into it too.
But my kid is like, she got upset the other day because she's like, oh, it's because it's some, they're only in the UK and I can't get their vinyl because it sells out. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, she likes some group, like British pop band underground from the UK because of Spotify and
Yeah.
Yeah, which
You
is
know.
great.
I think that's a good thing.
See, that's
not a
great,
bad
though.
thing. Like, I feel like there could be an argument to be made for the old times with the major music, major label industry, where they were the tastemakers. They decided what you would hear, and some of it was really good. A lot of it was really bad.
Well, for
Now
sure.
we're
And
much
we
more
can
devices, and I think that's better.
And we can certainly get into how the business practices have changed since then, where now there are no such thing as program directors anymore.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, that's a whole other conversation that I wasn't trying to get into. I was just throwing out there that, like you could hear on pop music radio AC/DC next to Wilson Phillips, next to Queensryche, next to Belle Biv DeVoe kind of thing,
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Just kind of going through the rest of this list, like I wasn't really a fan of Extreme. I definitely remember hearing that album, but it wasn't for me then. It's really not for me now. Though Nuno Bettencourt clearly has, emerged as one of the most important guitarists in 2024. He's been playing with Rihanna for at least a decade.
No, I have no idea.
Yeah, no, he's made quite a career for himself. It looks like the Scorpions' Crazy World is here. Again, another Winds of Change was everywhere. Okay. Absolutely. Again, not an album I ever owned or anything. And as I've gotten even older than I was in 1990, I can certainly appreciate like 70s Scorpions and even like the 80s Scorpions. But this is where I'm going to start checking out. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Madonna in that Dick Tracy movie. Just keep watching that.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, it's no like diss to Madonna in the movie. It's just that movie was fucking terrible. Madonna's great in it though.
It's got a cult following.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. The Rocketeer, man. The Rocketeer's got a cult following.
Well, The Rocketeer's a good movie. So I
watched Dick Tracy over The Rocketeer, but I like Sprash.
I like Dick Tracy.
Insane. The Rocketeer is a beautiful film. All right.
The problem with Dick Tracy is it was marketed like the next huge thing,
like Batman,
like it was going to be, and it just completely fell.
They marketed.
It happens. It absolutely happens, no matter what the generation is. So
yeah, that's true.
If y'all want to reboot Dick Tracy, and you need a guy, I'm here for it.
Warren Beatty still owns the rights. In fact, there have been 2 recent YouTube videos of him as the character in order to keep the licensing rights to Dick Tracy. You can look them up. They're very absurd and bizarre.
Wow.
Definitely check them out. Also, 2 other points. There's a great podcast series about Winds of Change by Scorpions. Apparently, there is a theory that it was actually written as propaganda for the Berlin Wall coming down. I don't even know. It's a fucking wild CIA kind of nonsense.
Yeah, I don't think that's a theory. That's like
real?
Known since that happened. Yeah.
Okay, great podcast about it. Look it up. It's awesome. And then the other thing I want to add is I remember this year because it blended with 91. And I remember I started 4th grade loving Paula Abdul. Or maybe it was 3rd grade. I don't know, whatever. And then I remember by the end of the year, because we did a little time capsule thing, we wrote what we liked at the beginning of the year, and we opened up at the end. And by the end of the year, I had finally heard The Real Thing by Faith No More. And my life was forever changed. This was a very pivotal year for me. I know it came out in 89, but it wasn't popular until 90. And I don't think I fucking fell in love with it until 91. But it was the best.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing on here that was that influential for my musical. I mean, what I was listening to in 1990, besides Vanilla Ice and Turtles, was The Doors, the Ramones. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that's not going to be released in 1990 that we were listening to.
Skinner.
Me personally, and my friend Michael he was really big into music, and that's how I got into a lot. The Doors, Green Jelly, stuff like that. So this has been a really weird, very personal video. This is going to be interesting by the time we get to 99.
Yeah, I love this.
It's very personal.
It's like a musical therapy sort of thing. You know?
Yeah, musical therapy. That should be the name of it.
There you go.
It's greater than
if you remember anything from 1990, let us know what you thought about it in the comments.
Yeah, if you were around for 1990, let us know what were you listening to. If you don't see an album on this list, it's very possible it could be in our top 10s. We all have a top 10 list, and we'll be ranking our top 10 albums of 1990 in the next video. So like, subscribe. That's all I got.
Tell your mom, tell your pop.
Tell your ma, tell your pa. Yeah, be safe, make good decisions.
Guys, grab a girl, don't wait, make her twirl. It's your world, and I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut to move your butt to the dance floor. So yo, what's up?